Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our February Pitchmasters workshop. My name is Lisa Friedlander. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at Next, powered by Shulman Rogers. Next is an award-winning legal platform for startup and emerging growth companies. And we are honored to work with our partner SeedSpot to present monthly pitch workshops where founders can come with a safe space and present their investor pitch and get great feedback from our team, including our fabulous guest judges like Inez LeBeau, who is a Next partner from Enterprise Transformation Solutions. So before we get started, I'd love to introduce Zach from SeedSpot to say a few words. And then Inez, if you can introduce yourself after Zach,
Sure.
That would be terrific.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Hey, everybody. I'm Zach Leberins. I'm the CEO at SeedSpot. And SeedSpot is a national accelerator program. It's actually a nonprofit organization that's focused on providing education and investment and mentorship for underrepresented founders primarily, and those working especially on issues that are some of our most stubborn problems we're facing as a society and a world. So excited to be here to listen to the pitches today and look forward to providing any advice or recommendations we can offer at SeedSpot.
Thanks, Zach. Inez?
Yes, thank you, Lisa. My name is Inez LeBeau, and the name of my company is Enterprise Transformation Solutions. And I help entrepreneurs get funded. And I am a partner with Next.Law as well as Connect Tien Wong and Connectpreneur. And we have a monthly global virtual live event. And the next one is going to be February 23.
Terrific. Thank you. All right. Well, first up, we are going to have Matt from Future Makers. As a reminder, Matt will have 6 minutes to pitch, and then we'll get feedback from both Inez and Zach. And I will turn it over to you without further ado.
Thanks so much. Hey, everybody, I'm Matt Barinholtz. I'm the founder of Future Makers. I'm reporting in from Callaway Elementary School right now, where it's on the west side of Baltimore. So if you hear the daily announcements or if students just put their heads in the room, know that's par for the course. I spend a lot of time visiting classrooms, and I'll share why. I'm actually in my happy place. I really love being in places like this. So Future Makers is my organization. And we exist to spark playful hands-on learning. That's really what we're all about. And it sort of looks different. If any of you are folks that love making, that love to invent things, that love getting your hands into stuff in order to learn, then we're the kind of people that you probably would have loved to play with, and materials that you would have probably loved to play with when you were younger. We do this. We are a manufacturing company that designs experiences, hands-on learning materials that ignites confident engagement in classrooms. We really believe that in order to learn, you need to keep what you make. So we design and manufacture consumables. Most things I'll talk about that are in classrooms generally don't go home. And these are all projects that each student gets to make and keep. Making and keeping is very important to us, and from a brain science point of view, agency and ownership deliver deep, deep results, especially in elementary school. Because this is Isaac. Isaac's a 4th grader at a school here in Baltimore. Isaac loves to invent and design stuff, but Isaac's teacher doesn't always have an opportunity to get really engaging hands-on materials. You know, they try really hard, but it just takes more than what Isaac has in order to recover from what's happened over the last couple of years. And actually, institutionally and systemically, what's been going on for far, far longer that we just saw became more visible, that dysregulation, that low staff confidence, and really little, if anything, that's kept is really there to support Isaac's passions and dreams, and Isaac's teachers' passions, because they want to see Isaac succeed. A while ago, we started doing this. We've been doing this for a long time as coaches. We designed hands-on STEAM experiences for learning programs. We were not a manufacturing company in 2011. And over the years, we trained teachers to become innovation coaches. That's what we focused on with districts and organizations all over the Mid-Atlantic. And then In 2020, something happened. We couldn't go. So we had to shift and become makers of Sparks. We designed hands-on social and emotional learning materials, we call them Sparks, that are for pre-K through 5th grade classrooms. These look like activity sets that go into school districts or park districts or library system programs. They're all craving screen-free, hands-on, make-to-keep materials. The market is pretty big for this. We have about 12 years of experience as a service provider, and now about 3 years experience as a manufacturer, knowing that these people are looking for and are really struggling to find hands-on social emotional learning materials, things that help the engineering mindset sort of get stuck, something to keep. So we've had a pretty good couple of years. A lot of individual products have been distributed into districts all over the Mid-Atlantic and now further west. And we have some great traction. It's been super fun because they're really happy knowing that they can buy a bulk set of individually packaged materials for somewhere between $5 and $7 a student, which is a real sweet spot for them. And the thing that sort of sets us apart from some of the other vendors that they work with is what we make is made for that learner to keep. That brain science that's behind owning what you make really proves that those developmental outcomes, that regulation lands and sticks when it's theirs to have. Not everyone else is making one-to-one materials, and none of them are making things that belong to that student. So we have a large number of institutional buyers that are already working with us, and they've been coming back again and again, and they have a pretty healthy budget to consume these things every year. So we are already on track by 2025, if we just sort of cook along, just doing what we do, to reach 1 million learners, which is a huge thing over the course of 3 or 4 years. But we're looking for some help to do more. We, after being a part of Conscious Venture Labs, and we're sitting sort of looking at a term sheet from them right now, because we said, hey, y'all, can you help us get to 5 million learners? We would love to be able to, 5x our impact. And in order to do that, we're right now raising a round that's going to help us build our marketing and sales team, expand our ability to manufacture what we're already doing in-house and regionally in Maryland, and with some partners that are domestic and overseas. And we're trying to build a new layer of educator success tools so people feel super successful with Sparks. We're on a good path. Things are going. We'd love you to help us follow that blue line up, not stay on the orange line that we're already on. And there's a special opportunity between now and 24 where there's federal resources to help us go boop, but we just need a little bit of stuff internally in order to be most ready to use those federal resources that our customers want to spend. Like I said, there's your announcements. Our team's big, they're on the ground, they're awesome. We have phenomenal advisors. We have great existing business partners. These are just a few. So join us. Let's build some futures for makers. Here's how you can reach us. Check us out on the socials. And I hope that we get a chance to playfully learn along with our students.
Wow, Matt. Well, I have to say, you are literally right on the 6-minute mark with such a beautifully, eloquently stated presentation.
Thanks.
With an amazing pitch deck. I'll turn it over to Inez to kick off the feedback. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so Matt, what I was going to say is that you are really good at telling your story.
Thanks.
Right? That was really good. What I want to tell you was a little confusing to me is that you start off and you show the kids and you show how they're using spaghetti and they're using all this material, but I don't know right away, that you are a manufacturer. I don't know that right away. I'm thinking you're going to have something to do with children and material and then for the teachers to go by. I didn't know where that was going, and you had quite a few slides on that until you finally got to the one where you said that you're manufacturing, material. And I didn't think there was, if you would have started with, here's the problem, right? Here's what we're facing today, right? And then come up with, and so we have come up with a solution. What you did is, you spent a lot of time before your pivot, but the reality from what I then heard after that is what you're doing today is after your pivot. Okay. So I would start with, I wouldn't say I pivoted, but I would start there, right? I would say, okay, here's our company and here's the problem that we're solving. Good news. We have a solution for it, right?
Yes.
And here is our product. I wasn't quite sure, what is it you're manufacturing, or are you, I wasn't quite sure about that. The market, obviously it's a big market. And the other thing I wanted to say was in regard to your team. Thank you for not putting Tolstoy's novel under each person. So that's really helpful. But what I would say is, like, the narrative is something like this. This team is poised to take the company to the next level.
Gotcha.
Combined, we've raised X dollars, have had X exits, acquisitions, IPO, because I want to better understand that combined, you're going to be raising money for a long time. And so I need to know that that team that you have pulled together, right, has done that before.
Perfect.
All right.
Excellent.
So
right.
Yeah. So I thought I liked your bar chart. That's exactly what we do with the financials. We don't need any more than that. That was really good. I don't know. Did you tell me that we expect to make $1 million at the end of 2023 by what? I know it's not subscription, but usually you want to say it's a mathematical calculation, right? We expect X and Y, right? And we're going to make the money licensing, B2B, whatever, right? That's all we need, but I missed that on your financial chart.
Yeah, I didn't even speak to it because I was racing and I just expected the
It's
picture
just but it's just a few words. Like, all of this is just, usually we do these in 4 minutes, Matt, and 7 to 9 slides, so it's just this power is to get your point across with the least amount of words. And I would skip the whole pre-pandemic piece of it.
Okay.
Because you change, you have a new business from that. And I like seeing the guy playing with the spaghetti and stuff, but it's not relevant to what you're doing today.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Inez. Great feedback. Zach.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Matt. That was great. Really engaging presentation. Love the way you led in with the visuals of the actual product so we could kind of wrap our heads around what can sometimes feel like an amorphous space of what maker products look like and feel like. So I think we got a good sense of that from the very beginning with the moving images. I guess for me, in addition to what Inez just shared, I think I could have used a little more clarity around who your current customers are specifically and what your target segment of customers are moving forward, because it sounded like it's expanding a bit. Like I'm assuming school districts are a big piece of that, but you also mentioned libraries. You mentioned out of school segments, which I'm not exactly sure who those buyers are. It would have been interesting to hear a little bit more about what I think is the B2B business model and which segments you're focused on. And also if you have any, unique advantage in how you manage what I know to be like really long sales cycles and bureaucratic processes when you're embedded in those markets. The other thing I thought about when I looked at your competitive landscape slide that was interesting but I'm also would love just, the critic or the skeptic in me would love to hear more about the other adjacent spaces that also compete for dollars and attention, not just maker focused products, but also even SeedSpot here, we have a youth entrepreneurship program, which is also focused on agency and ownership. And I know that there's, computer building kits like Kano out there that can also compete for these dollars. So how you think about your advantage and kind of competitiveness against those adjacent markets that are products that are also competing for this market. And then lastly, you mentioned 300, did you say 300,000 products at about $5 to $7 per student that have already been deployed?
Yes.
Great. And 200 institutional partners, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sure.
So again, just those are great. I would just love to hear one more click down on again, how that connects to the business model, who those customers are, and how you see that the growth trajectory beyond the federal funding, based on how you've ramped that to date over the last 3 years, really, when you've had this product. But overall, I thought it was really compelling. Great job, and look forward to seeing how you guys do in the next phase.
Thank you so much. This is really valuable. I'm glad that you get it, and I'm thanks for this. This is really helpful.
Thanks, Zach. Great feedback. And I'll just piggyback for 2 seconds, Matt, on Zach's comment in terms of, people that are familiar with EdTech know the sale, how painful it can be, and how long the sales cycle was. So that was really, for me, the only piece that was missing, because I am familiar with that in terms of, yes, you said you're raising money for sales and marketing and you expect to 5X what you're on track to do, but I didn't really hear a how. And again, you have limited amount of time and all of that, but how have you mastered the sales cycle into schools? And is that because one of the members on your team has done, just a little hint about how you're going to be able to succeed in this area, and cut through the noise, because it is really, really difficult, but really fantastic job. So thank you for participating.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you, Inez, and thank you, Zach. This is really, really incredibly helpful information.
Absolutely. And for folks that are here, feel free to put feedback in for Matt in the chat as we move on to our next presenter. But everybody has good ideas and creative thoughts. And if you're an entrepreneur, I'm sure you look at other people's pitches all the time. So feel free to give Matt some more feedback in the chat, and I will turn it over to Laurel from Spark. Laurel, it's so great to see you coming back and using Pitchmasters multiple times to improve your pitch. Every time we see it, it just gets better and better. So just the caveat to everyone, it's never done. You're never done. It can always be better. And Laurel has shown that. So Laurel, without further ado, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. No, thank you. I appreciate it. I actually tweaked my pitch 2 weeks ago to expand it to 6 minutes. So this is my first time going about it in 6 minutes. So we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. We're ready when you are.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Give me one moment. Okay. Can you all see my deck, or?
We can. If you want to put it in presentation mode, that would be great. But otherwise, yep, perfect.
Okay.
Ready to go.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Laurel, and I'm the founder of Spark, the people-centric marketplace. We are revolutionizing how professionals and employers connect and engage. Our community uses Spark to communicate directly with hiring managers, to secure jobs and earn money through coaching. Now, you may be thinking, what makes Spark unique? There are other platforms where you can get a job and make money, but where Spark differs from everyone else is that we have solved one nagging problem for a core user, the college student, and a core customer, the employer. And that problem is the college student job recruitment process. And for those of you who forgot how this process works, let me take you on a trip down memory lane. As a student, you may have had the privilege of attending a highly competitive school and had premier companies coming on campus to recruit you. But if you were not at one of these schools, you either reached out to an alum or someone in your network, or sent a cold email or LinkedIn connection request to someone at that company to express interest in their firm. Now, even if you attended a highly ranked school, on many occasions, a company would come on campus to host a recruiting event without much marketing from a student club or from the Career Resource Center, and you missed out on an exclusive networking opportunity. And let's be honest, you probably didn't utilize your Career Resource Center much, but their job was to attract employees on campus and get them to pay in exchange for access to you. And the employer, with their limited college career recruitment staff, must pick and choose which student clubs and college career resource centers to form a relationship with. Managing this relationship is usually a headache, and this is why they overlook talent at many other universities. The three challenges that these stakeholders face creates the student hiring pipeline jam that frustrates all stakeholders by wasting time and money. Students want the dream employer, and the employer want the ideal student. It's that simple. But students lack confidence in the current platforms they are currently using to engage directly with hiring managers, which is why only 8% find the Career Resource Center helpful. And employers, they're tired of the way they have to promote their job or recruiting event in which only 20% of attendees show up and only 8% of applicants meet their ideal job qualifications, which is why employers spend more than $6,000 to recruit one student. The solution is an efficient and cost-effective way for hiring managers and students to connect directly. And this is where Spark comes in. Let's say you all run a venture capital firm and you're seeking financial analyst interns. On Spark, you can just type in finance club and immediately student clubs would populate based off that interest. And with one click of a button, you can send them a job post. You can customize it by diversity or one university, and you can send them a recruiting event invitation. No longer should employers feel overwhelmed by the college student job recruitment process, and students no longer lack access to any employees because they can use Spark the same way to access any employer. We currently have more than 100 student organization pages and company pages, and both parties communicate seamlessly. This is the actual chat between Vista Equity Partners and Yale Alternative Investment Student Club. Here are a couple of our testimonials, one from our paying customer, Star Mountain Capital. The way we get employers is through identifying posts from recruiters for in-demand jobs, and then we reach out to them and easily convert them on a Spark. The way we secure students is through email marketing, where we reach out to the leadership personnel of student clubs and inform them of job and side hustle opportunities on Spark. We make money three ways. One, based on every hire. Two, a monthly fee for companies using our SaaS tools. And three, anytime a person makes money on Spark, whether that's professionals coaching, students tutoring, or doing priced events, we take 7.5%. We have more than 40 employees on our platform and 50,000 in annualized recurring revenue. Some of our customers are Google, Facebook, and BCG. We have more than 4,000 users on Spark, and more than 50 people have made money on Spark. Spark currently sits in a $30 billion college student job recruitment market. The next level up is the online tutoring market, a $183 billion industry. But our goal is the e-learning market, a $315 billion industry. Now, as it pertains to the college student job recruitment market, Handshake is our primary competitor, and we all know LinkedIn is a preeminent platform. And as it pertains to how college students earn money, it's usually through tutoring and an online platform like Shag's Tutoring. Spark wants to simplify the process for the college student of how they secure a job and earn money while on campus by bridging the gaps of these platforms. We're raising $1.5 million to secure 500,000 in customer revenue and 200,000 users. In 2011, I founded a social enterprise focused on professional development and talent placement for students. I partnered with 20 Fortune 500 companies and 21 schools. I raised 200,000 in donations and secured a team of 16 volunteers. The seed of Spark is rooted in the success of my social enterprise. I bring that experience along with being the president of student clubs to address a larger problem in the educational system through a more technologically savvier means. Florin is my CTO, and he's built 1 million lines of code on Spark. Jeremy's one of our advisors, and he's a founder of Pure Cars and sold his company for $125 million. I truly hope that you all join Spark. That's www.sparc.world, because we're here to spark the world. Thank you.
Great job, Laura. And I apologize, I've been mispronouncing your name, so I want to apologize for that first. Great job. It's great to see you back again, right at 6, maybe 2 tinge over, but close enough.
Okay.
Zach, why don't you kick off the feedback this time for Laurel?
Awesome. Hey, Laurel. Good to see you again. How you been?
I've been already so.
Good. I could tell we actually had after the last time Laurel did a pitch, we did a follow-up call, and so I got a preview of some of what I've seen has been updated here in your pitch and deck. And I thought overall, compared to the first time I saw it, it's much more focused and concise. I think I've always thought that this is a big problem. It's kind of one that no one has really figured out a great answer to. You mentioned some of the competitors like Handshake, who have most of the market share, but if you look at the on both ends, the colleges and the employers and especially the students, it's not a solution that a lot of folks are very happy with. And so I think there is an opportunity here. I guess the thing that I've been mulling over even since you last pitched it to me is this idea of also combining the revenue generating services as part of the platform. I get why you're doing it. And maybe I could be convinced with enough discovery and like customer validation that you're right. But to me, it starts to feel disjointed and a little bit, dilutes the power of what I think the primary goal here around connecting employers to students. And then I just want to know a little bit more about the why there's this competitive advantage that you seek out and that you kind of that you're based a lot of this, anchored a lot of this in around student groups. And I don't know, on my college campus, this is so many years ago, I don't want to embarrass myself, but the student groups, I just didn't feel like were a really active part of how like the campus operated or how students thought about careers post campus. So maybe that's changed, but I'd like to hear a little more about that too. And when you use that as one of the primary drivers of the business. I'll probably have more feedback, but for now, I'll pause and turn it over to Enos.
Thanks, Zach.
Oh, go ahead. I didn't know if I could respond.
Yeah, no. So I agree with what Zach said. One of the things that I thought, 2 things on the competition. I think what's the most critical about the competition is for you to clearly articulate what is your differentiator, what is your secret sauce, what makes you unique. I don't necessarily want to talk about, you do have competition, everybody has competition. However, I mean, the narrative basically is we do have competition. However, here's our secret sauce. Here's what makes us unique. And I know it sounds easy, right? But I know in working with all my entrepreneurs, getting to that DNA gut answer is really critical, because when investors want to give you a check, they can go and check out all your competition. And then you want them to be able to say, oh, what Laurel is doing, I get it. He is highly differentiated from everybody else. All right. So that clearly was missing for me. And then I think Zach said you introduced some other concept as you were talking, right? So I think that was my, Zach said the rest I want to say, but that's my main comment to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Inez. And Laurel, for me, just to round it all out, my piece of feedback for you has been the same every time, which is what Inez just mentioned that Zach hit on. This piece about the students making money, you don't explain it well. We don't know what it is they're doing. And it just seems completely misplaced to me from the power of what you're actually doing. For me, it's been the same. As your pitch has gotten better, that one piece has not for me. So I think to sort of rethink who you are, what your sweet sauce is, as Inez, like what is your core differentiator and how, if at all, does that play into it? And if it does, great. But then you need to do a better job incorporating it into your presentation because it's still getting lost for me.
Understood. No, I appreciate it. I got a lot of homework to do. So.
But always great to have you and really appreciate what you're doing for sure. And I think we can all attest that this system is broken. I happen to think that going through the clubs versus the, college, employment offices or whatever is a great idea. My son actually just joined one up at Tufts, an investment banking club. And I think reaching the students in that direction, it could actually be really powerful and clearly is because you're off to an amazing start. One last thing, in the beginning, you mentioned, students that attend, the Ivies and the high caliber institutions may or may not struggle. Other students certainly will. But I did notice, and on the one hand, I think it lends amazing credibility and it's powerful. All of your schools are the top of the top, the creme de la creme. I think it would be nice to include other schools to reach students that may be a little more disadvantaged or really have a time struggling because they're not at one of these amazing institutions. And I'm sure that'll happen as you grow and scale. But to the extent that you have them now, I would consider wrapping them in just to show that you are representative of many different types of students in college campuses.
Definitely.
But congratulations.
Lisa, can I add to something
Sure.
you said?
Of course.
So when you are pitching to investors, you come, it's one idea, right? Or what is it that you do? That's what I do. We all understand that you can later, right? When you have your core revenue and your core clients, that of course I'm looking, what are you going to do next, right? Or how are you going to make money next? But honestly, as an investor, I want to just stay in your lane, stay in the lines are your friend, stay in there. This is what I have. This is the platform I have. This is how I'm going to monetize that platform with this solution that I've come up with. Okay. So I'm trying to get Lisa, you triggered that when you said what you said. So it's really important. I know that investors don't, what you're going to do? You're going to confuse them, right? Pitch me one thing, your core competency, that's what I want to hear. How are you going to make money with that?
Understood.
Awesome. Thank you. Laurel, if you don't mind, stop sharing. That would be great. And next we have our final presenter, Daniel White. Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, everyone. Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Dan, I'm the CEO at Gentian, and thank you for your attention. And two great presentations I've got to follow there. So if you bear with me one second, I'm just going to share my screen.
Yep, take your time.
Moments. Hopefully you've got the right one here. Okay.
Perfect. Floor is all yours.
Thanks very much. So as I say, my name's Dan. I'm the CEO at Gentian. We're a tool that measures biodiversity. So this is something completely different. We use a combination of space data, artificial intelligence, and a lot of ecological knowledge to measure nature on the ground. Why is this important? So there are really three big challenges that are hitting us right now. Nature provides us with food, shelter, provides us with resilience against extreme weather events, and it's disappearing extremely fast. In fact, it's connected to 50% of the world's economy. These ecosystems are extremely high risk and they have high value. And unfortunately, measuring how well they're performing is the preserve of wonderful people like this lady here, who take a long time to go out into the field and count the plants, come back, use stakes in the ground. It's a very long, drawn-out manual process. What's happening right now, you may have heard of Conference of the Parties, COP15 in Montreal this year. Regulations are now coming together very quickly to protect biodiversity around the world. And this is occurring in every country. So if we combine that with some of the tech that's available, we're seeing regulations and technology coming together in this beautiful sort of link. So first and foremost, which is exciting and a little bit creepy, resolution from satellites can get us to 31 centimeters. So we can see the top of someone's head from space now. In addition, if we combine that with deep learning technology, we can fill in a lot of gaps around identifying what we can't see on the ground. And we call this a smart meter for nature because we're speeding up this whole process and making access to this information a lot quicker so that we can make better strategic decisions. From our perspective, we feel we're a lot different out there, different to a lot of the companies out there that use Earth observation. The first is we've received a lot of funding and support from the European Space Agency. We've been measured as 97% accurate versus manual surveys, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that means in a second. We're 10 times faster than manual processes, and we're up to 10 times cheaper. So we're making this whole process more efficient and disrupting. So who uses this? Well, first and foremost, we began in cities because when people think of nature, they think of the wilderness, they think it's something outside. And in fact, there's lots of nature inside cities. So on the right-hand side, you can see an approach that we took to measure what are called green roofs, which are where you grow vegetation on top of a building. And these are common in cities like Chicago, New York, Portland. In Europe, we have them in London, Paris, across Germany as well. And we're able to identify where they are and where they can go. And these help cities cool if they have overheating problems or a resilience to flooding. We then move that to urban and rural surveys, and this is for property developers, energy companies, these folks who are doing big land use changes. And we started working in those areas and are generating revenue. The market for us, for a serviceable market right now, is around just under $9 billion for the US and Canada, Europe and the UK, and also Australasia. And this is for property developers, urban landowners, and city authorities. But that's just the beginning for us. But just to wrap that up as a market, last year we made $103,000 of revenue from green roof prediction and land-based surveys. And as you can see, we already have over $1 million of pipeline revenue for 2023. One of those contracts is 90% of the way there, and that's a $750,000 contract. Why is this also important? We all know about climate change and carbon markets. The problem with carbon markets is they're not verified very well. So we're getting a lot of inbound from people who provide those credits so that biodiversity can be a means of providing access and policing for those markets so that people have more confidence. There are credit markets forming in biodiversity. We're not leading into them, but I'd strongly recommend watching them closely because they're growing very, very quickly. So just to wrap this up, we've now completed 11 contracts for green roofs and biodiversity. We've turned one of those contracts into a subscription model, which is an ongoing service for one of Europe's largest property developers. We are licensing data to carbon markets. This is in the US. And we're now building products where we're engaging people with the collection of data, getting more people out to nature, getting them using mobile devices to collect information and to enjoy nature and get there, feel the value of it more. A team is heavily strong in 4 areas. This is my 3rd startup. My previous 2, one was a successful consultancy, and the second was a software product that's used in aviation and shipping today. I can talk about that in more detail if you like. The second area is space tech. So the chap in the middle, below the CTO, was the CTO for Europe's largest space program, Galileo. And our CTO is one of the leading environmental engineers in the space industry. We have on the left-hand side at the bottom, EFB, which is the European Federation of Green Roofs and Walls. That chap there, Dusty, is one of the leading ecologists in Europe for urban ecology. And we have a ton of really smart people from the University of Oxford and other great universities that are dealing with our machine learning and our image recognition. So for tech, space, and business experience, we've got a ton of experience. We're raising $750,000. We have a term sheet in hand right now. We have around 200,000 that isn't hard committed. We will confidently deliver over $1 million of revenue in 2023. We're moving into North America. Apologies for my accent. We're now also moving into Europe as well. We have our presence in the US, and we can't wait to get started and into new parts of the world. And we feel that this crisis is first addressed with understanding it with data. And that starts with companies like us. So I was a lot faster than 6 minutes, but I hope you enjoyed this. I'm happy to welcome your comments and questions.
Thanks so much, Dan. You're about 7 minutes, but that's okay. We had the time. Super interesting and innovative. I love the crowdsourcing concept of using people to help add to science. Really, really exciting stuff. Inez, do you want to start this time?
Okay, so Daniel, please forgive me, but I feel like I'm in the middle of a movie. So it was for me, like you talk about measure nature in the ground, and you talk about where they are and what they do. And I'm not sure. What is it? I really don't know what it is that you literally and figuratively do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe it's me, you know, maybe it's just me, but, you know, you showed the woman, and she's measuring something in the ground, right?
Yep.
But now it's good news. You have come up with a better way, right? But what is it that you're measuring? So that's my real comment. I just thought that there was a lack of clarity for those of us who are not involved in the day-to-day in your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to understand this with clarity.
Thank you. That's really good feedback. Thank you.
Thanks, Inez. It's always hard, Dan. We get some life sciences companies. Inez worked with a ton of life sciences and biotech companies. Not that this is necessarily that, but it depends upon your audience, of course, always, right? But when you're pitching to a general audience, you have to kind of dumb it down in a way that we can, you know, grasp it immediately. I think I understood, but I do understand where Inez is coming from in terms of wanting it to be maybe spelled out a little bit more clear. But thank you, Inez, for that. Zach.
Yeah, hey, Daniel. Thanks. I think for me, just to play off that, what would be useful, I think, for Inez and others, especially lay people like ourselves, is a little bit more explanation of the market demand for this and how that works and takes shape. Like, I think you did a good job of saying, hey, there's this manual process that we're replacing, 10 times faster, 97% is accurate. But and then you talked a little bit about like the type of users or buyers, right? Like cities, property developers, maybe carbon markets are another one. But I guess what I didn't hear is this confluence of regulation that is driving that demand with the tech. But like I need to understand a little bit better. Like property developers don't, in my experience of them, care so much about the biodiversity of the places they intend to develop unless they're being regulated to do so and present on some, in some ways, not to generalize that entire space, but I think it would be helpful to have just a little bit more hook and anchor in like where the demand is driven from, especially if the primary buyer so far is property developers look like. Mm-hmm. And then maybe, you can, as part of that, like, the discussion around like how you might be licensing data for carbon markets is interesting. I don't know. I think I would just really try to anchor in on where your primary is it property developers right now? Is that the primary? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right now. And I wanted to set a vision for the future as well. So
and I appreciate that too. I think there is a place for it in the pitch. It just felt like it took up a little too much space as opposed to understanding exactly where the business is right now. And then is it also safe to say that regulations is the primary like hook you have with property developers on why they have to use data like this to report back
Absolutely, it's
Okay.
coming in fast.
Yeah.
So,
So just make that really clear, because that I get and I can wrap my hands around. And but overall, like I think it's a really it's exciting and brilliant innovation that you guys are working on. So congratulations and good luck.
thank you very much. I really
Whatever
appreciate
that is,
Indeed.
whatever that
Thanks, Jack.
innovation is.
Well, let me
Um,
also ask Daniel, because you're raising money. What kind of investors are you looking for this?
So we're looking for investors who effectively either A, have a network of potential customers connected to the property industry, B, have experience of building companies themselves, so can help us with that. You can never have too much experience in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Or C, have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's to be completely blunt with you, that those are the sorts of three areas that we're looking at, and obviously a mission alignment is super valuable as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Well, terrific. Well, Dan, if you don't mind, stop sharing. And we have a few minutes left. I would love to open it up to anybody on the floor that might have feedback for any of our presenters, or if there's any questions about some of the feedback that was given. Feel free to unmute and chime in the last few minutes that we have. I'm also going to put in the chat just a thank you and some links for everybody to follow all of our upcoming events if you would like to pitch in the future, or just make sure you're on our list to attend. But anybody have additional thoughts about anything that's been said today? Any general questions for our experts here from any entrepreneur about generally pitching to investors? We must have covered everything, which is always good. Inez and Zach, how about leaving us with, 2 or 3 things that are always, like, if you don't do anything else when you pitch to investors, make sure you do these, 2 or 3 things.
Okay, so investors are looking for 4 things. Number 1 is who's driving the bus, because 10% is your idea and 90% is execution. And a really good way is to do a summary of your team. So I saw that, you have 65 years combined experience. We've had pharmaceutical people who, haven't raised money or, exited companies, but they've combined, they had 100 years pharmaceutical. So as an investor, I feel comfortable that they certainly understand their industry really well. Okay. Number 2 is, I call it competition, but it's really, what is your secret sauce? What makes you unique? And that last presentation, I didn't get that in particular. What's your differentiator from what other people are doing out there? Number 3 is, what's the ROI? So I can directionally see when I'm going to get my money back. And number 4 is the one I just talked about, is, can I relate to your product or service? You have to make it relatable so that I understand it. And you do that through telling a story. You start your pitch with telling a story. So I call it, the trailer to the movie, so that I know exactly, right, what you're going to talk to me about, instead of just launching into, I understand you're deep in your weeds and everything, but you're looking for me to give you a check. So I need to relate to your product and service. And so those, in my many, many years, I've exited many companies and worked with venture and private equity. Those are the things I learned that they're looking for, that are critical when you are doing a presentation.
Thanks, Inez. Great summary. Zach, anything to add to that before we let everybody go?
No, not really. I think there's a framework called the Monroe motivated sequence that I often refer to for pitches, because it has also, they're all versions of the same steps, but essentially there's like 4 or 5 key steps to that sequence. And what I like about it is it tells you like what the ideal audience response should be. I can send a link, or you guys can Google it, for each of those steps. So like the first step is attention. Like the function of that step is to grab the attention and get the audience to listen. And the ideal response would be like, I want to hear what you have to say, right? The second step is about need. So let me explain the problem. That's the function. And then the ideal audience response is, yeah, I agree. I have that need, or I have that problem, or I understand that problem. I have some proximity to it. Yeah, relatability. Satisfaction is the third step. So you're going to tell the audience how we solve that problem. And then the ideal response is, I see how that solution could work. And then visualization is a fourth step, which I think you also got at with telling a story and getting, humans are wired for stories. So getting the audience to see the benefits of the solution or the costs without the solution. And the ideal response is, that's a great idea, like that aha moment. And then the last step is the call to action, where you have a specific audience specific and context specific ask that makes the audience respond with, yeah, I want to learn more. So anyway, that's what I would share, but really enjoyed the pitches. And I think they all did, they did a version of that as well today.
Hey, Zach,
Awesome.
did you know that people listen for 2 minutes and 30 seconds?
That seems.
And 4 seconds per slide. And if you put too much information on your slide and you talk too much, you're going to lose your audience right away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I use my 6-year-old as the audience usually, because
Yeah.
that gets it down to 35 seconds. Yeah.
Right,
Exactly. That's
It's
exactly
tanking by
right.
the moment.
Yeah,
Well, huge thank you to everybody for joining us today for our February Pitchmasters workshop. Obviously, extreme gratitude for SeedSpot for partnering with us on this endeavor. And Zach, thank you for being here today representing SeedSpot. And Inez, our next partner as well from Enterprise Transformation Solutions. Thank you for always lending your expertise. And thank you to our 3 presenters. Really fantastic job, Matt, Laurel, and Dan. We hope you'll come back. Laurel, you're always welcome to keep on coming back. I put some links in the chat. Feel free to grab, and hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye,
Have a good
everybody.
day. Bye-bye.